Well, hello, everyone. It's Anne, the Stamp Maven here. I know it's probably going to be hard to tear you all away from your televisions watching all the election results. Maybe not. But I thought we should get together to do a little fun stamping tonight. I promised you that I was going to show you the easiest Christmas card ever. I know a lot of you have been homebound with COVID, and a lot of you have been collecting supplies. Now, those of you who were a part of my kitchen sink card making class learned some fun ways to use those little pieces. But tonight, I'm going to show you something a little different. I'm going to be using two different packages of designer series paper by Stampin' Up. This one is Heartwarming Hugs, and this one is, what is the name of it again? Brightly Gleaming. Hey there, everybody. Hey, Jenny, Gabby, Maria. Man, I sure miss seeing you. Now, the truth is, you can use any paper to make this card. And this one I did using a Whisper White background. The next one I'm going to show you where I actually put it together, I'm going to be using Very Vanilla. One thing that would be really fun if you are someone who saves your Christmas cards from people, every year that send them, you could cut up those Christmas cards and use on the front, and you wouldn't even have to buy any other paper. How cool is that? So with this one, what I used was the Wrapped in Christmas stamp set. I use this greeting right here, the friends and family are the truest gifts of Christmas. And I'm going to use that for the second one too. And I actually used the Warm Wraps dies, this little heart right here, along with the little heart in the coordinating stamp set. Now, if you didn't have the dies or whatever, you could just cut out a little star. Now, right here, I use these fun little glitter star ornaments. What I'm going to do is put a piece of paper over this when I mail it so it won't get caught up in the postage machine. If you didn't want to use any embellishments and you wanted it to be totally flat, that would just be fine too. The other thing that I used, if you notice here, the card base I mentioned was Whisper White. There's also another layer right here that I embossed with the Tasteful Textiles embossing folder. I love this embossing folder because it is very subtle. You can see it here. It just adds a little bit of texture. All right, I'm going to show you how I made this card, and we're going to put it together. You need a good trimmer in order to cut your pieces. I use the one by Stampin' Up because it just has so many great features on it. It cuts like a dream, and it also has all of these great measurements. It's got an arm that sticks out to 17 inches, so you can just cut your paper so easily. Now, for this one, I use the Brightly Gleaming paper. The measurements are, your card base is either going to be 8.5 by 5.5. You're going to score it at 4 1/4, and then you're going to fold it in half. You could also do it this way. You could have your paper 11 by 4 1/4 and then score it at 5 1/2, and it would open on the top. Either way is just fine. So let me grab a bone folder here so I can get this creased really well. Okay. And then, again, beforehand, I took a piece of the very vanilla cardstock, cut it 4 by 5 1/4, and that way there is just going to be a little border when I put it down, and I ran it through the embossing folder, the Tasteful Textile. I'm going to take my Stampin' Seal, which is our new and improved tape runner. It just works like a dream, and it actually sticks a little bit better than our snail did. Now let me show you a layering trick. I have customers who struggle getting their layers on straight, and a little tip I gave them is put down one corner first. In this case, I'm going to do the left one. Then come over here, put down the opposite corner, the diagonal, then go around and put down your edges. If you do that, you will spend less time ripping up the layer to get it straight. Now, if you do happen to get it crooked, one other tip is if you will just peel back a corner and then start breathing on it as you gently pull it off, your layer will come off and you can put it back on there, and you might have to add a little more adhesive, but you won't rip your paper. Okay, now, what I did is I cut strips of 5 different patterns from this packet. Now, some of them, if I flip this over, you'll notice some of the same patterns on this side. Of course, Stampin' Up! Paper has 2 sides on the designer series, so it works really well. Now, what I like to do is lay these down and get an idea of how I want them to arrange on my card. I want, let's call them the anchor pieces, to kind of be the same distance from the right edge and the left edge. And then these pieces, I will come back in and fill them in where I want them. So let me move this just a tad so I can apply my adhesive. So let's see, I want to be able to have it so you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to put this one right back down where it was, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt it in just a smidge to just give it a little different look. Okay, now I'm going to come back in, and again, maybe not again, I might not have told you it. These pieces are 4 1/2 lengthwise by 3/4. You could easily make them a different length if you wanted, but if you remember this measurement, 4 1/2 by 3/4, you can just whip out so many of these and it will be so easy to do. Now, I'm going to just lay this right on here. I want it to stick down a little bit on the bottom. If you wanted, you could stick it on the top. Then this piece is next. Isn't this paper just beautiful? And I'm going to have this just slant a little. Then my last piece is going to go like this. All right, so there is the paper on. Now, what I did is I used the same sentiment, and what I like to do when I'm stamping is, and I'm going to just get out the sentiment here and just kind of lay it on a piece of paper so you can see. Okay, if this is a scrap of paper I have, it will fit this sentiment very well. So what I would do is I would just stamp this, and then I would cut my paper to fit it. And the reason I do that is this. Let me show you on a bigger piece. Let's say I have this piece. Okay, this was something I fouled up, so I didn't use it. But I would stamp right here like this, and then I would trim it here. Then I would go around and trim it the length I want it. It's a lot easier to do it that way than to start with a piece that fits exactly. Of course, if you want to use a stamp positioning tool like the Stamparatus, then you can easily cut your paper ahead of time, because with the Stamparatus, it will stamp exactly in the same place every time as long as you put your paper in that same place. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay, so now here we've got our greeting that I've already done. So I am going to put this down flat. You could pop it up with Stampin' Dimensionals, but if you do that, then depending on the embellishments you add, the post office might charge you more postage to mail it. Now, I am going to use these blue adhesive backed gems. These did not come with this paper. They actually go with a snowflake set. But I just think the little gold or copper shimmer on this blue is going to be perfect to go on this card. So I am going to take a big one, and then I'm going to grab a couple teeny ones and put them on here. I don't have my little take a pick. I've got it stored up here on my pegboard, but I didn't get it out for this live. But this tool is actually what I would use instead. It has got this great end here. This blue stuff is like sticky putty, and it lets you pick up things so easily. And it's got a little spatula here, and there's also a paper piercer on one end, and then there's another stylus in here where you can use it for scoring. It's got two different heads. Hey Carol, hey Lena, no worries if you're late. Remember, there will be a recording and you can always watch that. Okay, so here is the finished card. If you wanted, you could stamp on the inside here. Again, if you wanted to add ribbon, if you wanted to put another layer on there, if you wanted more embellishments, you could do that. But how I would set this up, I would go through my paper and I would get out the patterns I want to use. Then I would cut up my strips. Remember, they're 4.5 by 3/4 inches. Then I would put them in piles. So when I am going to put them on the neutral card bases, whether white or vanilla, I would have everything ready. Now look how different these cards look. They're different colors. I could have colored some pearls with either my red or green coordinating Stampin' Blends. I could have done the same thing on this one as well. You could pop it up. You could do it this way and just cut your strips a little smaller, shorter. It would be so easy. So anyway, go back, cut all your strips, figure out your greetings, stamp those, get out your embellishments. If you want to emboss your layers like I did, go ahead and get that done. Then just have piles. Have your card bases, your embossed pieces, your strips, your greetings, and your embellishments. Then all you have to do is, first step, layer your embossed layer onto your card bases. Boom, 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 boom. However many you're making, 10, 20, 30, 40. It will be so easy. Then get your strips, adhere them down there, and it uses such a small amount of adhesive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy peasy. You could also use your mono liquid glue. You could even use glue dots. I don't know about y'all, but I save these from Paper Pumpkin that I get every month because there are so many extras and they are perfect for projects like this. Okay, then you get your strips on there with whatever adhesive you use. Then you've got your stack of cards with your strips. Then you go back in, attach your sentiments, whether you want them flat or with Stampin' Dimensionals. Last thing, pick out your embellishments, and they can be different. They don't have to be the same. Then, of course, all you need is an envelope. You can either use some of your paper and line your envelopes, or you could punch out something to put on the front of it, or you could stamp on that envelope. With this stamp set, the warm hugs, you could stamp, I could have done, or I can do, hearts, trees, candy canes, whichever paper you used. You could also do one of these. May your days be merry and bright. Surround yourself in the love of the season on the back of an envelope. Oh my goodness, there are just so many different ways you can do this, but it's easy peasy and it won't break the bank because I know you all have strips of cardstock around. Now, one last thing I want to show you. This will probably be next week, but I'm going to give you advance notice. You know what's in this little box here? Isn't it a cool little package that you could actually put a gift in this? Well, what it is our tag kit. It's got all of these fun items to make tags, but I'm not going to make tags. I'm going to show you how to use this Tag Buffet stamp set and this project kit to make a bunch of cards. So if you are someone that maybe wants to take a little more time, or maybe you have 100 cards to send out, I've got quite a few. So after I do a bunch of these strips, I'll probably be ready to do something else. And then I'm going to do these cards out of the Tag Buffet. And I also have a paper pumpkin with cards. So I'm going to have a bunch going. And we're even going to use this awesome gold twine for the cards. So I will let you guys know when that is coming up. And I want to say thanks so much for popping in and playing with me tonight. See y'all soon.